I can't screen share with this display for some reason. So I'm going to make it huge, and then we'll just have to deal with the banners. Okay, there we go. Technical difficulties are always fun, but it's a part of life. So quick couple notes. So of course, this is for the Raise Hackathon. So hopefully you guys are all here because you're participating in the hackathon. I won't spend time introducing myself quickly. There's a slide here, but we'll meet in the mentor group. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn or on GitHub, feel free to scan those QR codes, and you can then you can just reach out to me, and I'm happy to talk to you guys. And then the GitHub is useful because a couple of the sample repos I'll share are available on my GitHub. So definitely scan that if you're interested. And if you need that back, don't hesitate at all to reach out in the chat, and we'll provide them. So moving on, I want to talk also a little bit about our developer first mission that we're really engaging on at Qualcomm. So historically, as a company, we've always had a lot of large contracts and companies that we work with. So we go out to a company like Meta or Google, for example. So you can take the Meta Quest or Android as some examples there. And essentially, we give them resources to help them understand the problems and really make sure that their software is optimized for our hardware. Now, of course, a lot has changed since Qualcomm has been a company. We've just recently celebrated our 40th anniversary. And so, as times change, we have to change as well. And one of the things that has been really great about the software development ecosystem is that software engineers are starting to make a lot more decisions because their expertise is being trusted at higher and higher levels within companies. So because of that, Qualcomm has really made a giant effort to pivot our efforts to be more inclusive of individual developers as opposed to only companies that can afford to have large hardware purchases and then we can send them engineers. So it's been a really great transformation. I've been a part of this for about 1.5 years so far. And I just wanted to highlight these 3 things that are really important to us. The first one is that we want to enhance all the tools and resources that we have to make sure developers can use them effectively. It's not an easy task for a company that's used to having the knowledge all in their heads, but it's absolutely something we're dedicated to. And we make consistent changes to the documentation, and you have the dates on all the documents so you can see when changes are made. And if at any point, you run into issues with our documents, especially during the hackathon, you'll be able to reach out through Discord, but we also have our regular Qualcomm developer Discord you can reach out to as well. I will have a QR code coming up in just a second. Another thing is we focus a lot on producing technical content for developers and then hosting community events that are really geared towards teaching developers new things about AI. A lot of what we've done specifically has been Edge AI, and that's in line with the Qualcomm track that we're hosting for the Raise Hackathon. So just be aware that, if there's anything that you're missing or, you can reach out to us and we'll get you those docs. And if, keep an eye on our Qualcomm developer Discord, because when we're in your area, we'll definitely put up events and such through our Discord as well. So a lot is happening through there. We also have a page on our website, qualcomm.com/developer as an option as well. So that's enough about our mission. And then 2 quick QR codes if you're interested. On the left side, you'll see the QR code for developer events. So that's for when we come to, whenever we have events, we put them up on our page, and you can scan that QR code and you can see the recurring events so that you know when to join. And on the right side is the link to join our Qualcomm developer Discord. So I'll just give a few moments there. Question from the audience. I'll answer the first one while these are up. What should we do if the hardware did not reach us before the competition? That is a problem, and you should let us know probably before the competition. As far as I am aware, I set up all the computers on Friday, so they're ready to go, and they're supposed to be mailed out today with overnight shipping all throughout Europe. So you should receive that. And I do want to touch on one other thing before I move on as well, is the hardware in the contract. I think there was mentioned that there may be some fees to pay for the shipping. Just please know that we're shipping everything with fees payable by the sender. So Qualcomm will cover all of the hardware delivery costs, so you don't have to pay anything to participate. So moving on from there, I'm going to put up this resources page now, because this is the important slide that I really want you guys to see. And let me just try and do the presentation quickly and see if it works. Looks like it did work, but I cannot see the stream, so I'm going to have to leave it down. Sorry, guys. So all of these docs, I'm highlighting these because these are generally what I give to developers when they come to our hackathon. So I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of all of these as well, just so you know what's there and how to navigate. And then we'll just get into the open questions. So first one, most important, is qualcomm.com/developer, and I will show you guys how to navigate to the docs from there. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen quickly and then share my new screen, which is my Chrome. Okay, 1 second. Let me just put this as a new screen here too. Okay. And here we go. There we go. So what you're looking at right now is qualcomm.com/developer. So just know that anything and everything developer related, you can see that it's going to be posted through here somewhere. So on the top here are some of our events. Microsoft Build has happened, and we have a couple, other news features here at the top. If you want to navigate to what's relevant to you, you can scroll down a little bit, and there's a whole bunch of software stuff that wherever you need to go, you'll get redirected here. And then likewise, right below that, there's some information about the different hardware that we offer. And below that, there's different topics and blogs that you can look into with videos. So really, I'm not going to go through the whole website, but everything that you need is on here. Now, what I really want to point you guys to, which is going to be the next 2 links on the PowerPoint. So I will go back to that so that you can see it. But if you go here and click that developer tab at the top, we're at the developer homepage right now. The other ones that are really important here are the blog. So there's a lot of interesting information here that may be relevant for this hackathon. So a lot of what we do is posted here. So it's a mix of different blog topics, but you can go there to read some of these, and you can obviously filter. Now, from there, the other one that's really important is inside this topics all the way on the right. If you click on Windows on Snapdragon, you'll be able to find the docs from here. So when you get there, it's going to take you to the topic, and the entire platform is running, or the entire hackathon is running on our platform. So this is going to be incredibly useful when you go to the documentation from there. Again, these are linked. I'll put that screen back up so you can take a screenshot. But the 2 places I would strongly recommend you take a look as you're working on your applications are this core app development. So I'm just going to briefly highlight this one because it's going to talk about the developer workflow and what it's like to work in an ARM64 environment as compared to an x86 environment. But really the one that you should focus on heavily for this hackathon is the AI app development section. So there's a lot of important information in here, starting with our AI stack, because we do our best to support a wide array of different stacks and tools that people are familiar with. And if you actually click into the developer workflow tab below, you can click on it and already get some docs here and choose where you want to go. But realistically, you have everything listed here on the side so that you can make sure you're picking the tool that you want. So this is going to be super helpful. I'm not going to go through all of that. I will make one recommendation. If you are planning to use models from us, which is not a requirement, but optimizing them is pretty important when you're working at the edge for a variety of reasons. My strong recommendation is that you work with AI Hub. That is not to say that, which we'll go to in just a second, is not to say that the other paths are not valid. It's just that a lot of, at a hackathon, I know this one's a bit more extended, but you tend not to have a lot of time to work on the applications. And AI Hub is really great at making things quick and easy and painless. So that's where we're going to go next. So just you look at the documentation, it'll take you to AI Hub. But AI Hub is this guy right here. So on AI Hub, there's a lot of interesting things. So first off, before we get into it, if you need any help with AI Hub, you can join the Slack channel. And this team is very active and communicates with developers regularly. So throughout the hackathon, of course, the Discord and the Lab channels are going to be very important and open to you guys. But if you're working with AI Hub specifically on the Qualcomm track, you can go ahead and join that. So what else? I wanted to show you guys the model. So we're going to be working on the compute platform. The really cool thing about AI Hub is that there's a bunch of options. So first is you can go through and you have this giant list of pre-optimized models for our compute platform, which is a Snapdragon X series of chips. I believe you guys are getting, if I remember correctly, a Snapdragon X Elite with 32 gigs of memory in it and a terabyte of space, but that's less important. And so you can go through these and actually filter by the chipset that you have, which is the X Elite, and you can find models that directly support that. And then you can break out into different cases. So one of the really popular ones is speech recognition. Of course, that's a big one for actually engaging in a human-like way. So when you find something like this, you can go and check the model. And on the model page directly, you have information about the model. You can download the model. You have different options to get the model, which I'll talk about in just a moment after I'm done showing you guys this page. There's more metrics about the model if you want to see that. It goes very in depth. You can look at all the layers in the model, all of that, but we don't need to look at that today. You have some of the details here to help you understand how the inputs and outputs work. And then more importantly, what I wanted to show is this page right here. There's also, for each model included, there's an associated GitHub like quick start guide from AI Hub to show you how to get the model and how to use it. I will be one of the resources I have is a GitHub repository that puts this model into practice, so you can see kind of how that works when you're working with Python. But just know that there's a lot of references here, and on this website directly, I believe there are some samples either on AI Hub models, or I believe they might just be sample apps. Yeah, it's not in here. It's in a different repo, but there's one called AI Hub sample apps. I guess I should show you guys that one too, so you know. Let me pull that up really quickly. I'm giving you guys the full rundown right now. AI Hub, here you go, AI Hub apps. Inside of AI Hub apps, you have tutorials, and then you can see, this is how you'll convert language models to be fully optimized on device. Again, we'll post all this in our chat for the hackathon on our Discord page, so don't worry about, remembering this. I'll give a long, exhaustive link message, which is super fun, I know. But you also have, in addition to the tutorials directly, you have several sample apps that have been built. So my assumption is that there's going to be some people writing in Python and some people writing in C++. So if you go to Python, here's all these examples that you have for Python. And if you zoom back out, you also have some samples for C++. So one of the big ones, especially for the compute platform, is this chat app. And that's what links up with that LLM tutorial. So again, it gives you all the instructions straight through. Here's how you use the app. Here's what you need to do to really make sure you can get started pretty easily. And what's great is we have teams in our hackathons that usually use this. And we just recently had someone who used this to great effect to make a really awesome app. But we're going to be putting out a blog post about that. So I am not going to spill the beans yet. Just know that it's really exciting. And I'm excited to see what you guys do with all of that. So that's our AI Hub page. I'm going to back up a little bit. I did talk about different models. So you'll see on this drop down when you're actually looking at any particular model, and this applies to many different types of models, but you'll see this drop down here where you have the selection between an Onyx runtime model and an AI Engine Direct model. The difference between those two is portability versus optimization. So AI Engine Direct is our runtime. You need to install QNN, and that's all in those docs that I started with back here on Windows on Snapdragon, right here. Okay, but that AI Engine Direct is machine by machine optimized. So if you have a model and you want to use it on the compute platform, but you also want to use it on an IoT kit like the RB3 Gen 2, which has our chip QCS6490, the important piece is that you'll have to optimize the model for each platform independently because of how it works. And I will get to questions soon, I promise. The other option is, of course, Onyx Runtime. And that's generally what I recommend, again, for hackathons because it's portable. So you just grab the model one time and you can use Onyx Runtime. If you have the NPU from the QNN execution provider, you can just use it directly with the NPU. And if you don't have that, it will just fall back to the CPU and work anyways. So that is it on AI Hub. I have a couple other things, and I am taking notes. We have a lot of questions. I promise I will get to those. I just want to show you guys all the resources. Last thing I want to show you is on GitHub. So on my GitHub profile, I have a couple apps. I have 3. So I'll show you that QR code is going to take you here. We have local agent, simple NPU chatbot, and simple whisper transcription. So I'll start with the whisper transcription because that's the model that I was showing you guys. What I've done in each of these repos is I've taken some portion of the entire process of developing an application, and I've pre-developed a small piece so you can get up to speed pretty quickly. So this whisper transcription, what it does is it just does a live transcription of your microphone in your computer and outputs it to the terminal. So it does all the work of, it gives you all the details. So you can literally just follow this and you know what to download, what to have installed, how to configure the parameters and all of that using AI Hub. And then you can just launch it so that you understand how you have the code there. You will, of course, have to modify beyond that to do more interesting things than just transcribe to your terminal. But the important piece is that you see that, you know, how the code runs and how it works. I've done the same thing with local agent. So I know agents are a huge part of this competition. So of course, you can go and grab this code as well. So this uses LM Studio, which I saw a question about that, which I'll address shortly. But LM Studio is one of the options that we have for local language model servers. It's similar to Olama and another app called Anything LLM. So this one is almost pure Python to really cover the concepts of agents, so you can get some basics started. Of course, if you want to use something like LangChain or OpenAI's Agent SDK, that's a different story. But because we're all about edge AI, I just wanted to point you guys to this one. And then the last sample app is the simple NPU chatbot. So this one is using Anything LLM on the X Elite as well. Same thing, you have all the instructions to set up your application. And you can just clone this and follow the instructions and run. All of these have an MIT license, so there's no worry about grabbing the code and using it to build your applications for the hackathon. So that's it on the resources. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my screen back up from the presentation so that you see the links there. And maybe I have a QR code slide of that. Let me see. 1 second. Because I don't want you guys to have to type in the links. That can be sometimes a bit of a pain. So let me pull this up here. I think I have a slide where I have these QR codes. Let me see. Local agent live. Yeah, okay. So let me put this one up instead. So actually, you know what I can do? Please hold. I'm about to get to questions. Okay, so just grab this slide and paste it in here. Okay, so this will be a little bit easier for you guys so you don't have to remember all these links because that can be kind of a pain to look at the screen and type them in. So there we go. Let me share my screen again. Window. There you go. Okay, so the QR codes here are there's one link that's not going to be relevant to you guys, which I'll just update really quick. Is my screen sharing? On my side, it shows that it's not. Oh, there it goes. Okay, great. And it was just in time for me to update the link. So here's this page. All of these links are available to you, so you can go ahead and probably just take a screenshot of it or a picture, and then you have all the QR codes on the left with those repos that I shared, some of them, and then the AI developer workflow docs. So with that, I'm going to get into the questions here. It was a lot of me just talking at you, so thank you for sticking with it. Let's see. So I'm just going to do these in order, and if I come to one that's already been addressed, I'll, of course, respond appropriately. So starting with the YouTube comments, let's see. Solo hackathon. Yes, we did find the answer. You can absolutely be a solo team member. And I saw there was another question about joining the hackathon. And I was told that you can join up until the deadline of the hackathon. So I believe it starts on Friday. So as long as you join before Friday, you'll be able to join. Can you suggest me the most important language for Solidity? I don't think there's such thing as the most important language. There's just different motivations. So same as, when you develop a piece of software, you should pick the language that makes the most sense. There's a careful balance between what the language offers you and what, how comfortable you are with the language. So typically for hackathons, I tend to recommend Python because it tends to be a lot easier to work with. And if you're using support from language models, they tend to be a little bit better at understanding Python code. That said, another super strong choice that I could also recommend is C or C++. You're going to get a lot better performance, and you can do maybe more interesting things with that performance. So you'll be able to load more models and all of that. So again, there's no like specific model that you have to use or specific language that you have to use, but start with Python, and then from there, if you need more optimization, maybe go to C, C++. Especially for the edge, performance tends to become a bottleneck just because of the resources that you have on the machine. Let's see, I got another question. Can you code 100% through AI? I would probably check on the lab channel for that, but from a Qualcomm side of things, yeah, you can use AI tools to help you with code. That said, my recommendation when anyone asks me about this is to be very careful with it, because you can run into a lot of issues where sometimes, especially if you're using agents to help you with code, it can send you like off in the wrong direction and change all of your code, and you can lose it. So the workflow I generally recommend is to get a GitHub repository set up, make a new branch for the feature that you're trying to do, and then every time that you're happy with where you are, just do a commit. And so you're stamping your code, and then if something breaks, you can just roll back to the previous commit. So from that end, no issue here, but definitely check on the lab server as well. Let's see. Is it possible to inference models on device with Python without knowing Dart or Swift? Yes. If you are unsure how to inference with models, go check out those two repos. So the two middle QR codes that I'm sharing on my screen right now, you have a sample app. So one is using Anything LLM and one is using LM Studio. And then I saw a question right underneath that says, if I use LM Studio, can I use the NPU? So unfortunately, no, LM Studio has not released. I believe it's in alpha still. There was talk that they would release something, but if you want NPU support, just use Anything LLM. And you can actually just, the reason I did both of those in different with different backend servers is because it was just to give some options. LM Studio has a lot more model selection available to you, but the cool thing about Anything LLM is that it's mostly Llama. There's also Phi, but I know that Llama is one of the requirements for the hackathon. So if you use that NPU chatbot, you can get Llama models, and then you can just integrate the rest of your app around that using that model server. So highly recommend going that path. And if you're interested in an agent, then you can use the local agent repo to understand how to put together tools and all of that. And of course, modify as you see fit, because there are a million ways to do the same thing when you're coding. So let's see. Couldn't find info on the deadline. So that's a good question. So the question is, I saw the hardware is shipping today. Can I still enroll? I do not have an answer right away on that, but if you, let's see, I don't know what the best way. Just at me in the lab channel or on the Discord, and then I'll take a look at that. It might be an issue though, just depending on where you're located to participate, just because we did mail out the hardware. And then yes, registration is still open. Oh, and then someone answered that underneath. You can enroll until Friday, and loaner devices are going to be provided for on-site participants. Okay, what models work decently on that? So I'm assuming that is LM Studio or Anything LLM. So Anything LLM, all the models that they have available, they work pretty well. And then on LM Studio, it tends to be, so you'll be able to download anything that fits your memory limit. So it's pretty intelligent. So we'll be able to see what you have available in terms of resources. But my recommendation, because you're working at the edge, it's not like working at the cloud where you hit an API and you get your answer back instantaneously. There will be some cycles that have to run on the chip to generate the response. So make sure that you are allowing proper time for that. Okay. So, and again, so specific models, I don't have any specific ones. One that I use a lot, so the one that's referenced in the local agent repo, which is that third QR code, is Llama 3B Instruct. So I think it's 3.2 3B Instruct. And that tends to give pretty good CPU performance, like pretty snappy, instantaneous. So, you can't go wrong with that one, especially if you're trying to do agents. The instructs are very helpful because they're not as chatty as the chat trained models. Now I'm checking a couple other comments, because we have two different sections of comments here. Let's see. What I already answered about the hardware doesn't reach you before the competition. Definitely reach out to us, but that might be a bit of a challenge there. I always used to work with OpenAI API. Does Grok and Llama have a text-to-voice system? Let me think. I don't know off the top of my head if they do. I know that Llama, I don't know about the Grok API, but what I can tell you is, especially since most of this is supposed to be Edge, the best place for you to start is that last QR code, the live transcription with Whisper and AI Hub. You'll be able to do, oh wait, that's voice to text. For text to voice, there's Python packages that you can use that will just automatically do the text to speech. So try those. I don't know. You'll have to look into Grok and Llama to see. Let's see. Registration is still open. Can you participate with zero coding? Yes, you can. You're more than welcome to participate. It's open to anybody. I would recommend that you don't try to do this all with AI, because that's going to be a very challenging rabbit hole. I've met a lot of developers, and a lot of the developers that I meet who try to accomplish these things, especially at hackathons, without as much experience, they tend to struggle a little bit, because the issue becomes not that they can't generate code anymore. It's more that they don't understand the code that's being generated, so they can't check. So a better recommendation is, if you don't know how to code and you want to participate, just find a team. There's a way on the sign up page to sign up for, say that you're interested in teams, and just ask to be added to a team. And then it'll be a great learning experience so that you can engage with other engineers. Let's see. Yeah, and that was the same response that Zofia gave as well. So you can team up with someone who is a coder, and you can provide other support, because these are, there's going to be some pretty cool apps that are developed, and there's a lot to do when you're working at a hackathon. Yes, so we got another question. I wonder if the Llama models like Llama 3.2 or Llama 4 run decently on the laptop. Did anyone try running them locally? Yes, I have tried running them locally. First of all, Llama 4 is not local. They're giant models, so you're not going to be able to run them. Their API is still in beta, so I'm not going to really talk about that. Now, as far as Llama 3.2 and 3.1 and 3 goes, 8 billion and less is 100% suitable to run on the edge. You'll get some slight, it's not going to be as performant as you expect. And I think that's the point that I really want to get across, is if you go in expecting to have like a race car speed generation, especially if you're used to using something like Grok in the cloud that can generate really, really fast with their custom hardware, it's not going to be that fast. That said, it is still great. You'll get text generated at a faster than you can read. But it's going to be, it's not as fast as like the giant responses from the cloud hosted models. And that's purely because of the hardware. It is going to get better with time, but don't shy away from building models at the edge, because I think that, you want to be working into the future. And in the future, these models are going to be supported more and more and more at the edge. That's 100% where we're moving. So Llama 3.2, 3B Instruct is the one that I mentioned, as I said, in the local agent repo. And then I believe I'm using Llama 3.1 in the NPU chatbot. But anything LLM and LM Studio have a bunch of models in there and different flavors of Llama. So pick your favorite. And as long as you stay under 8 billion parameters, you'll get pretty decent performance there. We got another question. I don't have a very clear plan on how I'll use these tech in my project. Can I DM you to present my project and brainstorm? Yeah, so there's a mentor channel on LabLab, and then we also have a Raise hackathon channel in our developer Discord. So both of those are places that I'm active in. I made sure that I'm signed up and getting all the notifications. So go ahead and drop your chats, or even send me a DM on Discord, and we can chat about it. That said, the best way I would recommend is just come up with your idea first. So think that, you're on an edge device, so you don't have access to the internet besides the Grok API, which is one of the requirements. Think about how you can make most of your functionality run as an app. So think like back in the good old days of Windows, when, you had entire applications that ran all in one place, et cetera, et cetera. Then I would think about how you can incorporate the AI models that you want. So the most popular on the compute platform is, of course, language models, but you can also grab the Whisper model if you want to do speech to text, And there's also some vision models as well, which will use the webcam, which is actually this last link that I didn't talk about. I forgot to show you guys that repo, but that pose detection with HR PostNet and AI Hub, that has a Jupyter notebook in it that will show you how to use vision models, again, through the webcam. So all of those, once you figure out what models you want to use, then you can start laying out the code, of course, in your project and go from there. Seems like you're still in the early phases of your plan, so definitely just DM one of the mentor channels and someone will help you out there. Next question. May I know if Qualcomm has a preferred development OS environment for this hackathon, Windows or Linux? While key packages like PyTorch and TensorFlow have ARM64, some packages like OpenCV Python don't. Yes, OpenCV is unfortunately not yet supported, so you have to build the wheels yourself. On Linux, I can start them. Not sure whether these... Okay, so yeah, great question. The preferred development environment for the hackathon is Windows. So definitely plan to stay in Windows. You do have access, of course, to Windows subsystem for Linux. That said, it's slightly air-gapped in that not all of the drivers are fully functioning, and there isn't full support for all versions of Linux on there. So again, mileage may vary there, but depending on what you're trying to do, you might be able to get away with it. However, if you're not like a super seasoned developer, just stick on Windows and work with what you have there. For OpenCV Python, 100%, that is a little bit frustrating and we've been working on it, but you do need to build those wheels from source, and it can be kind of tricky, but there are other packages. And one of the other options as well is you can use, a lot of the vision models tend to be pretty decently performant on CPU. So actually that pose detection with HR PostNet sample that's on the bottom row of the links that I have right there, that one uses OpenCV on the CPU, but it's not, it won't run the detection through the NPU. So you can absolutely use it still. You'll just have to check the version of Python you have. So first of all, if you're using AI Hub, you need to use 3.11 of Python, but there's a 3.11 like regular x86, and there's a 3.11 ARM64. And all you need to do to get the version of OpenCV is just install the x86. It's going to handle the emulation automatically to run on ARM, and you'll be able to use OpenCV there. So hopefully that doesn't slow you down too much, and that's a path forward for you. Let's see. Do you have an LLM provider that supports OpenAI specs and has NPU support? No, I don't believe so. Anything LLM uses API requests that are similar, and they might support the client from OpenAI, but I'm not sure about that, so I can't comment. LM Studio 100% uses the OpenAI client if you're going to use it in Python, but they do not have NPU support. So definitely recommend, if you want NPU support for that, which I recommend, check out the second QR code so that you can get the sample from the NPU chatbot repo and then work from there. It's the same process. You just have to do a request instead of the client commands. And I have a model interface built into that application that you can use and extend as you need. And there's a lot of documentation within anything LLM once you get to the developer docs that can guide you through and really extend the functionality that you have available. One cool thing I'll just mention since I'm talking about it is that in anything LLM, you can set up workspaces. And of course, that's a feature that exists in a lot of places, but you can switch the information and the context based on the workspaces. So you can upload documents into different workspaces and then on the fly dynamically change workspaces for your query to go. And so you can really enable a lot of interesting behavior by just changing the workspace that you're hitting the endpoint of. So that's a cool thing to explore there. Let's see what's next. And I'll flip back to, I think, our YouTube comments after this. Do we have to use Visual Studio and C++, as this is what the documentation on QC is explaining? No, you don't have to. Again, it depends on the path that you're trying to take. So without sharing my screen again, basically, if you want to go the QNN route and get the fully optimized version, yeah, you have to use C++. If you want to go the anything LLM language model server route, which is totally fine as well, you do not need to use C++. So again, it just depends on the level of optimization that you'll achieve. That's, again, why I recommend AI Hub, is AI Hub tends to take a lot of that, the challenge out of it. And you can then choose an Onyx model on there that you can optimize with Onyx runtime QNN. So it's the same thing. You do pip install Onyx runtime, but to get the NPU access, if you have the ARM64 Python 11, you just do pip install Onyx runtime -QNN, and you'll be able to then get the optimizations for the NPU available. So don't stress on the C++. I know that is not everyone's cup of tea, but it's, it's just one of the options. It's the option you need to use if you want full optimization. Can we use Lava instead of Llama? I don't believe so. That's not a question for me. That's a question for the Raise team. But from what I saw in the official rules, a Llama model is a required part of the submission requirements to be considered for a prize. Great question. The next one is, how do you use Grok API as is mentioned in the requirements while everything should run offline? So that's the exception that you get. So make the main functionality of your application run offline, and then you can use the Grok API for certain functionality of the application. Again, that's required. So what you can do is just maybe mix and match. So take Llama locally using the anything LLM NPU repo, and then incorporate the Grok API as well, maybe to help with some custom functionalities, things like that. But totally understand that is a bit confusing. So don't worry about it. Just incorporate it so that you follow it, but keep most of the application offline. And if you have any concerns about that, we can talk about that in, of course, the mentor chat on the Lab channel on Discord or on the Qualcomm developer Discord. Let's see. I feel that the model exported from Qualcomm AI Hub is not accurate. That is, I don't know how to answer that. Performance may vary. I'm sorry, I don't know how to answer that. I'm sorry that you feel that way. Next question is, I'm thinking about how to bundle anything LLM with the application. Otherwise, we would always need to install anything LLM if we want to run it elsewhere. That is a great point. Yes, you have to use the language model server if you want to bundle it. So a couple other options. I don't know what kind of bundling you're using, but if you're trying to build an app that's C++, for example, I'd recommend, since there's more time for this hackathon, that you can try out the conversion flow that I showed you on AI Hub, their sample app that's written in C++. And once you convert the model from AI Hub so that it runs in your code, you'll be able to bundle all of that together into a single application. So if you're really, if you're dead set on going that route, that's an option. Another option is potentially you're using Docker. You can use Ollama in a Dockerized container and use that as your language model server. Again, it won't have access to the NPU, but you'll be able to use that in a containerized application. So as far as I know, there's no requirement in our track to use the NPU. I might be wrong, so if I am, I apologize. But you have a lot of flexibility with how you actually build your application. Our main priority here is that it runs on the edge. So you're thinking about resource allocation and of course, optimization, so you're not taking up too much space or taking too long, all that stuff. But you don't limit yourself. Let's say you can be creative and try a couple different things. So yes, but that you can't bundle anything LLM as far as I know. And I think LM Studio might have a way to bundle, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'll have to check back on that in the mentor chat. Okay. Some more questions. Let's see. We have two different chat channels, so I'm trying to find them. Oh yeah, someone posted the event, so thank you for that. It's lablab.ai/event/raise your hack with dashes in the middle. Definitely go there to check that out. What criteria will the committee use to evaluate? That is a great question. So first of all, I'm not going to fully answer this. I'll give you my individual perspective as a judge. That said, there are the official criteria posted on the Qualcomm, or not Qualcomm, excuse me, on the hackathon website. So, and they're getting posted right now in the comments on YouTube. But I believe it's like technology, presentation, and use of the different tools. Business value, that's the last one. So really at a high level, just to summarize all of that, when we look at your application and originality, sorry about that. When we look at your application, we just want to see that, you made the right technical considerations. So in our track, you're working at the edge. So again, you want to make sure you're balancing the resource usage. You don't want to have, like, if you want to use more than one model, don't have, so many models loaded in that it's going snail slow. Make sure you're thinking through the problem effectively to build your application. So that's one. Presentation, of course, is at the end. You have to put together a demo and share that, again, according to the rules. So I'm not going to comment on that, but how do you present it? Do you feel, do the judges feel that you present it well, you're strong in your delivery, all that stuff? Great skill to have for when you're in the workforce, if you aren't already. Business value, self-explanatory, but how, is this useful in general? Like, did you make something just for the sake of making it, or did you make something that's actually solving problems for people, and can you derive value out of that? And then, of course, originality is about, are you thinking outside the box? Are you trying to innovate? Are you pushing the boundaries of what's possible? The cool thing about Edge AI is I personally think that tends to be very original in general, because we're seeing this shift backwards. So there was this whole shift towards the cloud for the past 10 years or so. And then now people are seeing the power of AI, and they want to do more custom workflows with their own personal data. But there's, of course, privacy concerns about sending your data up to a cloud provider and then getting responses back, and what do they have access to? So the edge, and actually moving backwards, as some people might put it, back to a local machine where you can interact with your files without sending them off. There's a lot of innovation that has to happen there to make, to really make applications that shine. So it's a really exciting space to work in. And, computers are only going to get more powerful in the coming years. We'll have more RAM, we'll have more, different CPU clock speeds, all of that. So, don't limit yourself to what's available today. Think forward to, where are we going to be in 5 years, right? Today, the computer has 32 gigs of memory. Maybe in 5-10 years you'll have 64, you'll have 128, who knows? But try to think in that way, and try to create something new that doesn't exist. Just a couple highlights of things that I've seen that tend to come up pretty often are like an educational app. So how can I make a tool that uses AI to generate different coursework for me to practice and study? I see a lot of stuff about like personal finance and healthcare. Like, I don't understand what I'm doing. Can you explain this to me, using personal health data? And of course, then an application that also can interface with the doctor. So those tend to be pretty, like I said, common. They come up often. So try to think, beyond that. What can you do that really pushes the boundary? Seems like we got a couple questions. My comrade is interested in whether we are allowed to scrap something from open source. I'm assuming scrape. Yeah, open source is fine. That's actually, I'm a huge proponent of open source. And, like I said, all these resources that I'm sharing are open source. I've put open licenses on them. So, attribute where you need to, but go ahead and grab anything that's open source, and thank the developers and other people who put those resources together profusely for what they've provided, and yeah, use it. That's what open source is for. So don't worry about anything like that. Of course, don't steal people's work that's not open source, but if it's open and there, go for it. Another one, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. Will there be mentors to guide us through the hackathon? Sapath, absolutely, there will be mentors. I'm a mentor from the Qualcomm track, and there will be other mentors as well. Maybe someone who's monitoring the chat can paste the link to the Discord channel for everyone, but actually I'll also go back quickly to share that. So on the right side here, if you scan that QR code, you'll get an invite to our Qualcomm Discord community, and there's a channel in there for the hackathon. So you can join and post your questions in there. I'm watching that, and I'll help you out. And others, of course. We'll have mentors that are online for the weekend, and then, of course, in person, we'll be in person as well. And there's a channel as well called the Mentor channel on the LabLab Discord page, so you can go there as well, and there's mentors available beyond just beyond just the Qualcomm track. And it's great to talk to mentors with other perspectives. You know, you don't have to talk to only Qualcomm mentors because it can help provide new ideas. So let me just go back to the resources tab. We're getting close to time here, so of course I'm going to stick around until the end if questions are still coming in. Oh, great, we got the Lab Discord as well. So let me just post that one in the comments on YouTube under the Qualcomm developer. Yeah, so both of those Discord links, you can join them and you'll get support from, oh, it looks like it's the, oh, okay, it was already posted. My bad. Okay, great. So those are the two links. You can join those and you'll have mentoring. Do we need to work with Grok through API? If yes, will we use cloud? Is that allowable? Yes, I covered that earlier. That is the only instance of cloud access that's available. That said, try not to make it the full base of your app. Like if you make a whole application, where our track is specifically about edge AI and using the power of the laptop that you have. So if you build an entire app that's only using the Grok API and not trying to use any of the local resources, congratulations on the great work, but it might not be as standout-ish as applications that really make use of the resources at the edge. So you can absolutely use that. It's a requirement in the hackathon, but try to make as much of this be offline and use the other resources that we have available to do interesting things. I think that's going to check a lot of the boxes in the judging requirements, and you'll go far if you do that. So that's my recommendation there. And, you know, of course, don't worry about using that. Oh, same question in the other chat. Okay, so yeah, that's all that I've caught up on all the questions so far. So I'm just going to hang out here for another maybe 5 minutes or so in case we get any other questions. And, you know, if just like the comment that was just posted says, if you joined late or missed any of this, don't worry at all. I'm going to post the links in the mentor channels, which I'm making a note of right now. Post resource links. Okay. So I'm going to post all the links that I've talked about and went to on our Discord channel. And then also will be available online starting from the start of the hackathon on Friday all the way through the completion. So I'll be available the 4th through the 7th on the Discord channels, and then I'll be in person on the 8th and the 9th for the component that's happening in person for those who are joining us there. So no worries about that. I'll make sure you guys all get sorted. And, you know, there's a lot to think about when you're doing a hackathon, and this is a little bit more involved because you have more time. So it's more than just a 24-hour hackathon, but my goal and the rest of the mentors' goals from all of the different sponsors are really to make it as great of an experience as possible for you. And great doesn't mean just making an app that shines. It also means learning something along the way and having a good time. So, you know, we're always there, and you can add us in all those channels. And I believe they've already done the shout outs in there with our Discord handles. Otherwise, you'll see mine when you when I post the link. I know in our Discord, it's in our Qualcomm Discord, my handle is Nick_QComm. So you can @ me if you need any help there. Or just like I said, use the Raise Hackathon channel in our Qualcomm Discord and use the specific Raise Hackathon channel in the Lab Discord as well. Okay, so with that, I am going to end the chat, I think, because it seems like the questions have slowed down. So to everyone who joined and is sticking with us, thank you. Oh, we got one more question. Just kidding. I cannot comment on that. I don't know anything about the approvals. If you were accepted to the hackathon, congratulations. You're it's open to anyone, so there's no requirements for being there. So I'll leave that there. But to everyone who joined, thank you for joining. We're really excited to be putting this on for you and to have you all join us for this. One more question. This always happens at the end when you're wrapping up. You get a couple last minute ones. So Tian, there you can contact the mentors on. Let me put up the QR code one more time for you. So we have our Qualcomm. We posted both of these links, just a couple messages above yours. So you can either use the QR code on the right side here to join our Qualcomm developer Discord, where you'll be able to use the Raise Hackathon channel in there to talk to the mentors. And you can @ me. My handle is Nick_QCOM. Or you can go to the Lab profile where they'll have a Raise Hackathon channel as well, and you can communicate with the mentors in there as well. Oh yeah, there we go. Thanks for posting that. So don't stress. We're here for you. I'm watching those channels to make sure you have what you need. Let me just make sure I didn't get any other questions. Yeah, okay. So that is it. So thanks for joining us today. Thanks for sticking with us. Any other questions, just like I said, post them in the Discord, and we will talk soon, hopefully. So thanks a lot, guys. Good luck. I'm going to end the stream.